A few years back, I bit the bullet and left my cushy 9 to 5 to open my food dream. It was a chance encounter with a Belgian patisserie that changed everything for me.
It's our chance to hatch our plan B out of the corporate life.
Arriba!
Because I love food.
Now I'm sharing my favourite recipes and searching for other passionate people to tell me their stories. In this week's episode, I visit some markets with a huge cult following, a sheep dairy that makes cheeses, meet a legend in the chef arena, and I learn that ginger isn't just my old nickname. In my search for passionate food people, I think I'll start with my local food growers market. I've come to the Carriageworks Farmers Market in the heart of Sydney because it's one of the best places to find providores selling their locally grown produce. I love visiting markets. They seem to have this tangible energy, a hustle and bustle.
That's very heavy.
With vibrant, stimulating colours and textures, not to mention the incredible smells emanating from all directions. So you can't really blame me for tucking straight into this lovely treat. Nowadays, we love to know where our food comes from, just bringing it back to basics. I've heard about a couple who make and sell a very unique type of cheese, and I have a feeling they have a great story behind it too. I'm intrigued to find out what led them to quit the city and invest in a sheep farm.
Yeah, so we do the whole thing from the care of the soils through the pastures, milking the sheep, making the cheese, and then coming down here to a farmer's market to sell it. So it's the whole full circle for us.
So I think people really do enjoy the fact that they know that this cheese has only ever made one trip from our farm right into their shopping basket today. So I think that connectedness is really important.
Wow, what a great day. Now, a little me time. After the markets, I was so intrigued by them that I headed down to the farm to hear their story and meet their flock. Michael and Cressida McNamara own Pecora Dairy, just outside the village of Robertson, 2 hours south of Sydney. Let's see the farm.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Come on, this way.
It started with an idea between a husband and wife. Get out of the rat race, go to the land. Add a Dutch breed of sheep, delicious varietal grasses, and fresh, crisp water from the Southern Highlands, and you've got your tree change success. So Cressida, this is such a beautiful place. What were you doing before you came here?
Well, we were both living in the inner west. We had a little house there and we were both in corporate jobs, which we did for a number of years. And then I had our first baby and we were bringing him up in Leichhardt. And we really started to think that we wanted more out of life and not just working for other people, but to work for ourselves. And we wanted to give our boys, now we've got 2 boys, and we really wanted to give them a fantastic start in life and a beautiful, really blissful sort of upbringing. So we had the idea of a sheep dairy, and the more we researched about it, the more we thought it was a really great idea, and so that's how we came to where we are today.
That's wonderful.
We got to a point where we had an epiphanic moment where I was changing roles, being made redundant from a job that I loved. And we just decided, well, that's it. This is the opportunity to own our own business.
That's your chance.
Get out. It's our chance to hatch our plan B out of the corporate life. and create something wonderful, do something different. Yeah, and so this is just the perfect area to create fantastic, beautiful, rich milk, and to be able to make cheese and yogurt all on farm, the full circle, single origin product, just gives us so much joy and fulfillment.
At milking time, the sheep come running eagerly from their pastures into the shed. They're led onto the ramp and are rewarded with delicious feed.
There's a lot of people that sort of have got very strong views about animal ethics and things like that, so they don't see that this is a real collaboration, that they're not being used, they want to come in. We give them access to the best pasture you can possibly get, the best feed that you can.
These girls get so spoiled,
And
in return they give us milk.
Depending on the season, each ewe produces between 500 and 1,200 mils of milk daily. I'm convinced that ewe's milk is the next superfood. Michael says that it has twice the amount of calcium, zinc and B group vitamins as cow's milk. And it's also good for people who are lactose intolerant.
Wow. Really nice.
I took the opportunity to meet one of the ladies who sauntered down the ramp looking for a treat. She was incredibly gentle and very calming. It did my city-slicking heart good to connect with her and the land, even just for a moment. It's the end of the day and I was invited to taste the spoils of a real labour of love. Michael and Cressida's care and devotion to their flocks are culminated within the beautiful cheeses that they produce.
We try and make cheeses that are not strong in flavour, so all of them will be elegant and delicate and pay a lot of respect to the pastures and the season. We want you to be able to taste those aspects in the cheese. First one that we've got is this wrinkled rind cheese with a delicate ash covering.
Wow, look at it, it's lovely.
Yeah, and what it does is it makes it go gooey on the just beneath the surface, revealing a chalky centre in the middle. So you get 2 or 3 different types of textures, and it gives you this incredibly long, creamy mouthfeel that stays with you long after you've had a piece of cheese.
I also got to taste their bloomy white rind and their semi-hard mezzo.
Thank you so much for having me, taking me through the whole process, introducing me to your lovely sheep and welcoming me into your home. I can see the passion is in every cheese that you make, and really there are 3 heroes here. There's the cheese and there's the 2 of you.
For me, this visit was not about seeing the cheese actually being made. It's about them, their story, their passion, and their successful transition into their ideal life. Well, we're here in my bakery where all the magic happens. Cakes, pies, cookies, galettes, and speaking of galettes, we have a beautiful recipe for you today. This is one of my favourite go-to pastries, sure to impress. They can be sweet or savoury, but it all starts with the dough. In a bowl, add your flour, sugar, and coarse polenta. Pinch of salt. Add your cold, cubed butter. And get in there with your hands and squeeze the butter into smaller pieces while rubbing it into the flour. Once your pastry feels nice and crumbly, mix the ice water and the sour cream together before mixing it into the crumbly dough. It helps to loosen up the sour cream and makes it easier to incorporate it all at once. Now, dump your to-be masterpiece onto the countertop and be prepared to get dirty with it. For me, there's nothing better than the feeling of flour on my hands and dough through my fingers. Gather all the pieces just enough until they all bind together. Then cover it tightly with plastic wrap and chill in the fridge for at least an hour. If you can wait a little longer, go for it. Personally, I like immediate gratification, so I stick it in the freezer for 30 minutes because I can't stand to wait. Take your rolling pin and roll your dough out in the shape of a circle. I use the top from an old kitchen scale, but you can use an upside-down bowl or even make a rustic freeform tart. There's a trick to getting these babies to slide right off the board and onto the sheet pan, and that's to add a layer of polenta underneath, and it will also give it a lovely crunchy bottom. The great thing about galettes is that you can make any kind of filling. Today I'm choosing to use a soft cheese. I love goat's cheese and sheep's cheese, but you could use the ricotta, mozzarella, just anything that's really soft and beautiful and fresh that will melt in the oven. So I just take a really nice big chunk of this. I'll put a pinch of salt in there, as well as a pinch of white pepper and some black pepper. To that, we're going to add some beautiful basil. And with garlic, I like to leave the skins on. Put it on the table and smash it. That way the skin comes off very easily. Once I've diced it up, I like to put a little bit of salt in there. And what that does is it creates friction so that when you smash the garlic, it has something to smash against the board. Mix your filling thoroughly. Get one of your galette rounds and pop the mixture into the middle. In the bakery, I make cheese and tomato galettes, so I'm going to add some cherry tomatoes to my sheep's cheese mixture. The creaminess of the cheese will go so well with the fruity acidity of the tomatoes. To fold your pastry, grab one side, it doesn't matter where you start, and bring it up over your filling. Press each end so they seal to prevent any leakage. Now, this step is really important to the colour of your finished galette. I brush mine liberally with a mixture of whole egg and pure cream.
Now I want to do something really fun. We're going to do a mixed berry galette now. You can do any kind of berry or really any kind of fruit actually. I choose the mixed berries because you have the mixture of the blues and the reds and the hot pinks and the blacks. It's just an amazing array of colours.
Put a knob of butter in the centre of your pastry just like that.
If you're watching your weight, you can leave it out. If not, put it in. I say the more butter the better, so I'm using butter at any opportunity that I can.
Followed by a long ooze of your favourite honey. Pile up as many berries as your tower of berries can handle without tumbling down. With all of my sweet galettes, I pull out a secret trump card to make them even more irresistible. I sprinkle the sides and top with raw sugar. It gives the galette an alluring texture and an extra crunch that will stand the test of any melted ice cream. And voila! My sheep's cheese and cherry tomato and mixed berry galettes. Gosh, I can't wait to tuck in.
Beautiful.
Deep in the heart of Sydney, I visit the Glass Brasserie. Few chefs have more on their plate than restaurateur and executive chef Luke Mangan. What with 21 restaurants in 4 countries, author of 6 books and a gourmet range of products to his name, you'd think he's bitten off more than he can chew. But as I come to learn with Luke, being busy creates a special kind of energy, and it emanates from him when we sit down together.
Luke, it's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what he's going to make.
Well, this is one of our signature dishes. It's a dish I created many years ago. Sashimi of kingfish with soy ginger dressing and a bit of Persian feta goat's cheese.
Beautiful.
I'm going to make yours and mine. Is that okay?
Oh, please
So,
do.
some beautiful thin slices of the kingfish, and you can do this with salmon as well if you like, or ocean trout. So a good pinch of sea salt, and then this is the secret herbs and spices dressing.
So you're not going to tell me what's in it?
No. You have to buy the book. No, I'm joking.
The book or the product?
The book or the product, that's right. So what it is, it's I pickle the ginger, and then I get equal quantities of pickled ginger with equal quantities of peeled chopped shallots, and mix them together with some soya sauce and some extra virgin olive oil. And you've got all these beautiful flavours, and you just, do it over like that.
Almost like you're icing a cake.
Icing a cake, painting a picture. Simple, isn't it, really? A little bit of feta, and this is just a little bit creamy, and it adds a nice texture to it. We just finish it with a little bit of cress. It's very simple, isn't it?
Lovely.
Huh? Do this for a dinner party at home, and you can't go wrong. Now, we've got to finish it with some really good extra virgin olive oil. We do it from up high. Do you know why?
Drama.
It looks good. Exactly. But there's one more step before we eat it.
Okay.
It's a very important step food, because I love food.
Right.
I love restaurants. I love everything. You've got to have wine with food.
Love the wine.
You know what I mean?
You must.
This is a lovely Chardonnay that we make from the Yarra Valley, and it goes unbelievably well with this sashimi of kingfish with soy ginger dressing and Persian feta. You any good with chopsticks?
I am, actually.
Hang on. Cheers.
Cheers, Luke. Thank you.
What do you think? Is it okay?
Beautiful.
You just saying that?
The texture, no. The texture of the fish has that bite back to it.
Good.
Little bit of al dente. The creaminess contrasts it well with the ginger. It's great.
Thank you.
So Luke, you are an absolute legend
Really?
in the Australian culinary field.
Thank you, that's very kind. You sure you're talking to the right guy?
Amid his jokes and our light-hearted banter, I wanted to get to know what led him to create his empire, and he said he wasn't too keen on schoolwork.
Spent more time outside the classroom than inside the classroom. And fortunately, a few weeks before, I did work experience at a restaurant in Melbourne called Two Faces. I rang the chef restaurateur up at the time, Herman Schneider of Two Faces, and asked if I could come do an apprenticeship with him. And thankfully he said yes. The first 2 years were washing pots and peeling onions and potatoes and sweeping floors and things like that. And I didn't really get to cook until I was in my 4th year apprenticeship. I mean, physically cook on the stoves, fish or meat or things like that. So, it was quite a tough apprenticeship, and he was quite a tough boss. Makes Gordon, well, it makes Gordon Ramsay look like a pussycat, this guy. But anyway, but it was a good experience, and I needed that discipline. So that fundamental training and discipline and technique in that cooking was just fantastic. So thankfully I did my apprenticeship there. Michel Roux, a very famous chef from the Waterside Inn 3-star Michelin, was out in Australia in about 1989 or 88, releasing his new cookbook called Patisserie. Beautiful book, and I got it. And I love this book. And I wanted to be a pastry chef when I saw it, and oh my God, this is amazing. So I thought, I'm going to go work with him.
Wow.
I wrote, and a few weeks later I got a letter back saying, sorry, we have a 2-year wait list for any new staff to work in the kitchens.
Wow.
So I was a bit gutted. I had a chat and said, look, I got your letter, thank you, but you said I can't come work for you, but I'm coming over in a few weeks, I really want to work. And he said, no, 2-year wait list.
Wow.
Wow, I wasn't happy. So something made me say this to him. What about I come and work a month without pay for you, and if I'm any good, you give me a job? And he said, we'll see you in a few weeks.
That is tenacity, and it paid off. Wow.
Best thing I ever did.
I had such a good talk with Luke that we explored the second half of his career in a different episode. I learnt that just a sprinkling of good luck.
Well, this is a funny story. This is a luck story as well, because my life's all luck, I think.
Found him teaming up with one of the world's best-known billionaires for some high-flying success.
By the way, your boss wouldn't be Richard Branson, would it? I said, yeah.
We visit a lot of really beautiful places. They're really custodians of this land and the soil. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how they take care of it and make sure that it flourishes for generations to come. I loved that ginger dressing so much that it inspired me to go learn how ginger is grown. I travelled up to the Sunshine State to visit a third-generation farmer who is wild on ginger.
Good, nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
nice to meet you too, Jill.
What an absolutely beautiful Queensland day.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Let's go see some ginger.
Yeah, please do.
Kylie took me on a tour of the Templeton Ginger Factory and showed me how the ginger is processed. One of the first things they need to do is wash the ginger when it's received from the fields. And I mean a nice, big, sloshy bath. They come in really muddy.
There's so much of it.
There's so much of it.
And where does it go to?
So from here we send to the central markets throughout Australia. So we've got a central market in all the states: Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth.
Wow. Then they give it a shower while they hand sort. The ginger is fed onto a wire conveyor belt and very slowly air dried before being packed and sent out to stores. They grow two types of ginger, the Queensland and the jumbo.
Kylie, you got me working already.
I know.
Didn't take long, did it?
No. Beautiful. Thanks, Jill.
Is that good?
That looks beautiful. Very well done.
So I asked Kylie if we could visit the actual ginger fields. I've never seen how they grow and I really wanted to learn more. Their fields are located separately from their packing facilities, and the colour of the earth here is breathtaking.
Yeah, my grandparents started off in the 1940s growing ginger.
He was growing bananas at the time, and it was a casual suggestion that he try his hand at growing ginger.
It's just grown from there. I mean, they just grew a little patch of ginger, you know, a couple of metres by a couple of metres square, and now we grow 150 acres of ginger.
I'll be honest, I've grown up thinking ginger is a root, but I was wrong. It's actually the bulbous rhizome that grows roots below it and sends up green shoots above the ground that we know to be ginger. Who knew?
That's the rhizome that you're going to eat. So that grows in the ground this way. The roots are coming out there, that's what you're going to eat. Up the top here is where the stalks are at the beginning of the year. And now that winter's come, they've just died down. That's the stalks that have died down. So yeah, so that's your rhizome that you're eating there.
So if I was to snap this off and taste it, would it be really spicy?
Yes, yeah.
Too spicy?
Oh, well, it's just not clean. You're eating dirt, darling. You can. It's clean dirt. You don't want to eat too much, but you should be all right.
It's really spicy. It's good flavour though.
Yeah.
My brother absolutely swears by slices of ginger in hot water.
Yes.
When he's feeling sick, that's all he'll have. He says that ginger cures all.
Yes.
Is that true?
Well, I've heard quite a few people say that, and we like to believe in it as well. I like to call it the superfood.
Superfood, yeah, it sure is.
I am a hands-on person and I love to learn by touch and sight. So I was keen to do some ginger picking and feel the earth crumble beneath my fingers.
So we all had to start at the bottom in this business. Shane and I had to go out and pick ginger on contract. We had to learn about all the ins and outs of how the business works.
That's a good thing, I think.
It
You
is a
start
good
from the
thing,
bottom
yeah.
because then you know exactly what happens from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been there, you've done the hard yards. I think that's what it's all about. You put your time in.
Yeah.
And then I think also you're more respected for it
I think so.
as a boss.
Yeah, it works well for our business. We're all out there getting our hands dirty, you know, it's about quality control. You've got to be out in the fields checking what your quality is like.
Although ginger is grown in a lot of tropical countries around the world,
Yeah.
Australian ginger, they say, is the best ginger, the best tasting ginger. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because of the good growers in Australia. Yeah, I don't know. We're just very good at what we do, I think, here in Australia with growing the ginger. And fortunately, whether it's the climate, the soil, there's something special about what's happening to the ginger being grown in Australia.
Or maybe the combination of all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You gotta love passionate Aussie growers.
One take two, back again.
There's nothing better than flour and dough on the table.